The 20th century was drawing to a close, and Disney Channel's 1997 relaunch had proven to be a success. Between the years 1997 and 1999, the channel had gone from 30 million subscribers to 52 million, and just under 2 million of those subscribers were still getting Disney Channel as a premium service. So Disney decided that it was as good a time as any to complete the channel's conversion to basic cable, notifying cable operators still offering it as a premium service that they must relaunch Disney Channel as a basic channel or stop carrying it. Fast forward to 2001, and Disney Channel subscriber base had jumped to 70 million. The channel continued to ride on the success of its tween-oriented lineup of original series, introducing new shows like Even Stevens, Lizzie Mcguire, and The Proud Family. You see, when former channel president Anne Sweeney arrived at the Disney Channel in 1996, she realized that the channel's lineup of cartoons and movies were too uncool for her then 10-year-old son. She explained, "Kids his age were dabbling with MTV, but feeling it was too old for them, and they weren't enjoying shows for much younger kids. So Sweeney began creating hipper programming that would appeal to the underappreciated tween demographic, aka kids between the ages of 8 and 12. Cartoons would still be present on the channel, but they would be just as hip as the live-action content. Popular young artists sang their theme songs, and their shows revolved around teenaged characters voiced by popular tween stars, like Even Stevens' Christy Carlson Romano. Lizzie Mcguire, a sitcom about an everyday middle schooler, would become the channel's biggest success up to that point. For those of you too young to remember Lizzie Mania, she was everywhere in the early 2000s. There were Lizzie books, dolls, sleeping bags, notebooks, CDs, a line of apparel at Kohl's, and a Lizzie McGuire feature film titled The Lizzie McGuire Movie. It debuted as the #2 film in the country and grossed nearly 50 million at the US box office. I'm not ashamed to say that 5th grade me was there on opening day. Disney Channel struck gold with Lizzie McGuire. Her success was proof alone that they needed to own their newfound identity as a channel with tween appeal. And in order to do that, a few sacrifices needed to be made. 2002 was the year of Disney Channel's second relaunch. A new logo was introduced, of course, but this also marked the end of Zoog Disney, the 90s block responsible for introducing tween programming to the channel. So why did they decide to end it? Well, my best guess is that Disney Channel knew that their shows could easily survive without Zoog Disney. Or perhaps they felt that the cartoonish Zoog characters weren't hip enough anymore. I'm not really sure. Disney Channel also removed their nighttime block, Volt Disney, in favor of same-day repeats of the channel's original programming. This meant that for the first time in its history, Disney Channel did not feature programs aimed at adults. It also meant that of the 3 blocks introduced in 1997, only Playhouse Disney remained. Now that the channel's vintage programming had been put to rest, its hip, original programming could finally take center stage. In 2003, Disney Channel would find another massive hit on their hands. A show about a psychic teenager that could see into the future would become the channel's highest rated series since its transition to basic cable. It would also become the first original series to run longer than 65 episodes, breaking the highly controversial 65 episode rule. The rule was implemented in 1998 and stated that no show could run beyond 65 episodes. This was done to limit increases in production costs, but it angered a lot of Disney Channel fans, due to many shows being canceled while they still had a large fan base. So That's So Raven would become the channel's longest running original series at 100 episodes. Not to mention, it was the first Disney Channel show to produce a spin-off series, the arguably inferior Cory in the House. In order for Disney to reach its goal of having the #1 rated channel in children's programming, it had to find another way to set itself apart. Therefore, the channel developed a successful strategy to discover, nurture, and aggressively cross-promote teen music stars whose style and image were carefully targeted to tweens and teenagers. This was done through television shows and movies alike. All of a sudden, being a pop star came hand in hand with being a Disney star. Hilary Duff from Lizzie McGuire, Christy Carlson Romano from Even Stevens, Raven Simone from That's So Raven, all had a plethora of songs and music videos that coincided with their sitcoms. This trend continued well throughout the decade, and some of these stars would become more successful than others. Pop stars also began to form in Disney Channel original movies, movies. Premiering in 2003, the Cheetah Girls was the channel's first movie musical and received a worldwide audience of 84 million viewers. The Cheetah Girls would go on to have 2 more movies, 3 albums certified platinum, and 3 nationwide tours. Naturally, this success would lead to the creation of other music-themed original programming. 2006 saw the debut of 2 of the decade's biggest moneymakers, the DCOM, High School Musical, and the series Hannah Montana. They introduced us to the likes of Zac Efron and Miley Cyrus, while simultaneously taking over the world. I'm not kidding. We thought that Lizzie and Raven were big, but we had seen nothing yet. Hannah Montana racked up an impressive 5.4 million views the night of its premiere, giving Disney Channel its highest ratings yet. The show centered around Miley Stewart, a teenager living a double life as an average schoolgirl by day, and as the famous pop star Hannah Montana by night. Hannah mania spread fast.
You came all the way from Puerto Rico just to see Hannah Montana.
Yes, we love Hannah Montana.
Within its first few years of being on the air, the series spawned 4 soundtrack albums, a nationwide tour, a 3D concert film, and a feature film. The hype that the show garnered was insane. Does anyone remember all the contests going around where dads were dressing up as Hannah Montana to win their daughter's concert tickets?
You get the best of both worlds.
Let me know in the comments if you do. As I said, the year 2006 was a slam dunk for Disney Channel. No pun intended. Along with their most successful Disney Channel original series came their most successful original movie, High School Musical. High School Musical became the most watched DCOM of all time, racking up 7.7 million views the night of its premiere. The movie revolves around Troy Bolton, a popular basketball player, and Gabriela Montez, a shy transfer student who's academically gifted. They try out for the lead parts in the school's musical, therefore threatening the school's social order. Troy and Gabriella ultimately resist peer pressure and rivalry, inspiring others along the way not to. Yeah, it may not seem like much from the outside, but this little film's soundtrack was once the best-selling album in the United States, reaching #1 on the American charts in 2006. Not to mention it spawned a television sequel and a theatrical sequel that made $250 million worldwide. Keep in mind that Lizzie Mcguire had only made $55 million. This kind of theatrical success was unprecedented for Disney Channel at the time. Yeah, clearly the movie musical trend wasn't stopping anytime soon, as we saw just 2 years later with this DCOM that was basically High School Musical 2.0. It worked. Camp Rock's soundtrack debuted at #3 on the Billboard 200 charts. Remember how in the last episode I talked about how Disney Channel was taking a few cues from Nickelodeon in order to reinvent itself? Well, you know that Disney's done good when Nickelodeon starts taking cues from them. Around this time, Nickelodeon began creating its own music-themed sitcoms in the form of Big Time Rush and Victorious. Coincidence? I think not. In fact, the channel's Nicktoons were falling to the sidelines so these newbies could take center stage. And sadly, the same thing was happening at the Disney Channel. In 2007, the channel began putting less emphasis on its animated series, moving some of them from prime time to graveyard slots, while increasing its reliance on teen-oriented sitcoms. But despite this, 2007 also saw the debut of Phineas and Ferb, the first original animated series to be broadcast in high definition. This was around the time that I, for the most part, stopped watching Disney Channel. I was well into high school by this time, and the shows I was most fond of had come to an end. Well-loved 2000 shows like That's So Raven, Kim Possible, Phil of the Future, and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody had all aired their final episodes around this point, so I suppose I wasn't the only one who decided to stop watching. But Disney Channel was doing just fine without me. Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato were getting their first big break, and the channel was breaking rating records across the board. In fact, on August 17th, 2007, High School Musical 2 became the highest rated non-sports program in the history of basic cable and the highest rated made-for-cable movie premiere on record, with 17.2 million viewers. Okay, so one of those viewers was me. I hadn't completely stopped watching. A few years later, Wizards of Waverly Place, the movie, became the highest rated non-sports cable program of 2009. It wouldn't be long before Disney Channel would finally put an end to Nickelodeon's 17-year run as the highest rated cable channel in the United States. But we'll get to that later.